Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hey, in this video, I wanted to talk about some things I've been seeing online on the forums, on YouTube, things that people are doing in Starfield that I think is a disservice to their own quality of experience with the game. And there's two main things I want to focus on in this video about how I think people they're kind of playing Starfield wrong right now. One of them is optimization. So there's tons of threads out there on the forums and on Reddit. There's lots of videos out there right now, and they're talking about all these ways that you can fast track your progression. They're like, hey, here's where you go if you just want to do a loop for hours where you're farming credits. You're going to end up with 5 million credits after a few hours of playing, right? And there's other things people are like, hey, here's where you want to go if you want to farm fast legendaries. Just get tons of legendaries, which, by the way, is silly. Because you start to out-level gear very fast in this game, so you're just going to end up with a pile of gear that's going to be useless to you in a few hours of gameplay. But they're like, here's some mandatory perks that you have to buy right off the bat, and they're like, you gotta build this farm right now on this planet for these resources. Slow all of that down. You don't need to do any of that. You don't need to do any of that. Ultimately, here's the truth. If you're leveraging exploits to get infinite XP, you're leveraging exploits to get infinite money and to do it in seconds, you are cheating yourself out of a great experience. If you do those things organically, you will get a lot more time and enjoyment out of this game. Using exploits is like buying a never-ending jawbreaker that's full of flavor, and then instead of sucking on it and enjoying it and having fun with it and savoring it, you shove the whole golf ball in your mouth and chug a glass of water and swallow it down. You're like, God! And you look at the other guy and you're like, I got mine down faster than you. And the guy's like, oh, okay, buddy. That's great. You know what I mean? Enjoy it, guys. Enjoy it. I just crossed the 100-hour threshold in this game. I was fortunate enough to get a review copy of the game. So I was playing it weeks before early access. And one of the best things about that experience to me is that I didn't have YouTube, Reddit, telling me, here's what you got to do. It was just go out there and do, find, explore. And one of the core things I think people forget about this game is that it is an RPG. It is a role-playing game. And so it's designed in such a way that it is going to reward you for your time spent in the game playing a role, being like living into this fictional character that you've created for your alternate reality in Starfield. So at the end of the day, I always like to approach these things with a specific question, and that is this something my character would do? So for my first character that I made, I created somebody who had the Freestar Collective background. Their aspiration was to be a ranger and to be a good pilot, because in their backstory, because in the lore of the game, essentially you're kind of coming on the tail end of this war that recently happened between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. And in that war, one of the things that the Freestar Collective did is they employed civilian militiamen, sort of like the American Revolution. And they brought their own personal ships, not like warships, but they formed a sort of shield around Aquila with their own residential ships. And so my guy's background is that his father was one of those guys, and fought in that war. So that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to become a ranger and he wanted to become a pilot. So all of the things that I did in that first playthrough, they all came back to that question. Is this something that a Freestar Collective born, kid who saw his father serve in the war, is this the kind of thing that he would do? This game is so much better when you approach it like that and you're like, I'm going to live into a role, because the game gives you so many options and choices that you can make. And it's up to you to sort of decide if that suits your character and the kind of person that your character is. So is your character the kind of person that's going to level up their piloting skill to max level right out of the gate, or are they, that's not really who they are and what they're about? If they're a thug from the streets of Neon who grew up a gangster and they're good at thieving, pickpocketing, and punching their way out of situations, piloting and tech stuff is probably not their forte. So I highly recommend that you don't fast track anything. This game is so much better when you take it slow and do the progression naturally. The second thing I wanted to talk about, it's not really a story spoiler, it's an option that you have once you've completed the game. Once you've completed all the main quest line, you have an option at the end of the game. It's nothing new, tons of games do this. But if you're like, no, I don't want to know, then you can go ahead and click off the video right now. I'll give you a second to do so. This isn't a story spoiler. It's a mechanic of the game that you have access to once you've completed the main storyline. Okay? I'm trusting that if that's something you don't want to see, you don't want to hear, you have already clicked off. I'm going to get into it now. So Starfield has a New Game Plus system. You know, a lot of games do this where you can reset, you can re-roll your entire world. And Starfield has that option too. So if you've completed all the main quest line, you're like, I want to do it all again, but I don't want to create a new character. You have the option to start over, wipe everything out, your whole inventory, your money. The only thing you get to keep is your current level. So if you reset your world at level 45, for example, then when you reboot the world, you will start, you know, where you started your journey the first time you played through as an Argos extractor miner, but you're going to be level 45, and you're going to have all those perks that you bought in your first playthrough. They're still going to be there. You're just not going to have money, gear, ships, all that stuff. Your farms and outposts, your homes that you may have bought, all that's wiped out. And a lot of people are saying, oh, the game only starts after you start New Game Plus. So I've seen so many people who are like, you need to just beeline through the main quest in your first playthrough, ignore everything else, and reset your world because it's going to get wiped out anyways. That's not what that's there for. I do not recommend that you do that. The first time I reset my world, I regretted it, reverted the save, and kept playing in my original playthrough. Because there were things that I hadn't done yet, quest lines I hadn't explored yet, and I wanted to make sure that I did those things first. The whole purpose of this New Game Plus system is really to allow you to progress through the whole Starfield game and make your choices. Join your factions, make the decisions that you're going to make about how you want those conflicts to be resolved. And then once you've done all of them, then you reset your world and you see what it would be like if you had made different choices. So if you skip all of those faction quest lines and side quests and stuff just to beeline it to New Game Plus, you missed out on lots of really cool experiences. And so you don't have anything to compare it to. The whole purpose of New Game Plus is to make your decisions differently this time around and experience a different outcome. So maybe your first playthrough was all about being a brawler. You used your fists, you didn't use weapons very much, you ran around punching everything to death, and you wore heavy armor. Hey, that's cool. But then you reset your world and you think, okay, this time around, I want to be a smuggler and a thief. And so you start upgrading piloting and smuggling skills. And then you see what it would have been like if you had played through the entire game from that perspective. Then you want to try it as a ranger. Then you want to try it as somebody who's a kid who grew up on the streets of Neon. Then you want to try it as a homesteader. Then you want to try it as a scientist. There are so many ways to play Starfield. And just shotgunning your way through the main quest line to get to New Game Plus, you're only robbing yourself. You're robbing yourself of experiences, of quality time spent in the game, and potential role-playing experiences. So all this to say, don't fast track anything in Starfield. You're cheating yourself. Who cares if there's people out there on the internet who have 8 million credits? Big deal. And they got it by farming some certain location or cheesing some certain thing. Big deal. You know, maybe your character doesn't make money that fast. Maybe what your character does is they go and they clear out dungeons, they collect all the guns from all the people they killed, they take them back to their outpost or their home, and they lay them out on the workbench, and you start modifying them and upgrading them. So that a Grendel that would have sold for, 1,200 credits, now you've upgraded it in such a way that you can now sell it for 10,000 credits. And then you put that aside, you pick up the next one, you start modifying that, and then you make the runs and you start selling your guns. And it's more slow, and it's methodical. But it's what your character does because that's the role that you're playing. That makes sense? Don't fast track it. Enjoy the game, slow down, take it in, explore, play your role. That's how you are going to get the most enjoyment and satisfaction out of Starfield. Thanks so much for watching the video and for the support on my Starfield content. I really do appreciate all of that. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you among the stars. Bye-bye.